All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakwadash, and of course, as always, double honors to our apostles and our elders that rule well at Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim that are preaching this word in all truth and sincerity. And Shalom to you few Akwathium, Wa, other Akim that are not necessarily prophets, that believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Alright. So this is a AI video that was pushed out, okay, according to the propaganda and this current war, okay, escalation, buildup of what the scriptures call the third woe, which is World War III. And if you look at this demonic figure on the screen, okay, at the end of this video, it's going to show it, but just based off what you see here is it's a bullish, okay, deity, which I believe they say is representative or representing Baal. And on its forehead is the Star of Remphan, which those small hats, all right, those rats that live in our land that call themselves Jewish and Israelis, okay, they use that star, and they'll call it the Star of David, which nowhere in the scriptures, all right, will you see the word Star of David, okay? Now, there were certain symbols and emblems that the Israelites did use, okay, but that not being one of them. And when I say Israelites, I mean the ancient Hebrew Israelites, which we are descendants of those people. We are actually those people. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the true Hebrew Israelites. So this is a buildup, and they're using AI now to push the narrative, push this message. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to get into these scriptures, and I'm going to comment on it as well as I'm playing it. I'll pause it, and I'll let it run through, and then I'll run it back and pause it and, you know, break down the things that I'm seeing take place in this video. All right, so without further ado, let's get this going. So you see it. Now, of course, it's just an AI generated video, but it says a lot. Okay, and it's titled One Vengeance for All. All right, which is a direct scoff and counter slogan against America, man. Okay, against you Edomites. Now, one justice for all is a counter to liberty and justice for all. Okay, because here it is, America fronts as if it's about world peace, when in all reality, these Edomites are all about total control. Okay? They're not about peace, liberty. They're about, domination. Okay? Wickedness. And it's heavy spiritual that they started with the so-called Native Americans. Okay? Because these Edomites that broke off from Great Britain, okay, came here to the Americas and stole the land from the so-called Native Americans, which are Hebrew Israelites of the tribe of Gad, which Gad is a Hebrew word which means troop. Okay, they're a warrior tribe of the nation Israel. All the tribes are warriors. Okay, but that was, a main office of this tribe, in general. You had the three tribes that their major office, their major, how would I say it? Their major position amongst Israel were to be, tough, valiant, warlike men. And these three tribes would be the tribe of Gad, which are the so-called Native Americans. All right, the tribe of Reuben. First and foremost, it would be Reuben. Okay, which Reuben is the firstborn son of Jacob. Okay, and Reuben, the Reubenites, are the so-called Seminole Indians, which they pride on the label of being the unconquered tribe, because they did not make any treaties with Esau, the so-called white man, with Andrew Jackson and those Indian killers, man. Okay, they fought until they couldn't fight anymore and fled, but they didn't make no treaties and no deals with Esau. Okay, when the scripture says that Reuben, he would be an excellency and power. Simply paraphrasing, they're an excellent people. All right, and they didn't make no deals with this fucking devil. Okay, then you would have the tribe of Gad, and then you would have the half tribe of Manasseh, which are the so-called Cubans. And it's well known that the so-called Cubans, okay, are a very, very skillful in war people. When it comes to the Olympics, okay, the so-called Cubans hold the most, I don't know if they still do, but at one point in time, they held the most gold medals when it came to Olympic boxing. And Olympic boxing is different than, boxing that you see on TV. Okay, in Olympic boxing, it's about points and you being skilled, and that's why they wear, headgear and different weighted gloves. Okay, because they're in a competition, not about who can knock who out. Because a lot of time, fighting runs the opportunity of you winning by chance. Okay, you winning by, it's majorly going to be skill, but you can win by chance. And the Olympics, it's about total skill. It's not about you going in there and knocking some dude's block off. But it's about you, showing that you got skill. And that's what it's all about. It's a competition versus, a show where they want to see somebody get their world rocked. And a lot of these sports, it's entertainment. They call it sports entertainment. It was well known that the mafia, was rigging the fights and whatnot, just like football's rigged. Okay, now all this shit's rigged. Okay, but yeah, it's spiritual that they would show Israelites, okay, as being the first. All right, because that's what it's all about. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Heavenly Father and His Son, only cares about Israel. And that's why Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is going to bring about this third world war. Is to have the nations, okay, pay each other back for what they did unto us. All right, so to hell with all these other nations that come after the tribe of Gad. Okay, but the other points we're going to just look at. Which I believe that second one was Japan, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. This one, it looks like it was Vietnam. Okay, this one, I'm not sure. It's somewhere in the Middle East, probably Iraq, Afghanistan, one of those places. Syria. Okay, that looks like Syria. It looks like a Syrian girl. Oh, and what do we got here? The island. He's an island boy. Okay, you got this little, what looks like a little Edomite girl. So even Esau is doing atrocities against his own. And when I say Esau, what I mean right now is the elite of Esau, Edom. All right, the so-called Jews, these bankers, and these other Edomites that are in that inner circle. They're in that web. All right, that web of wickedness. You see, they're doing all these atrocities even to their own. Molesting these little Edomite kids, man. Okay. And there you got Iran. And those were, what was that, Soleimani? The one they took out, a couple years back. And then that right there was their former ruler, their former president or king or whatever he was, the Ayatollah. Now, in this guy's stead is his son. Okay. See, one vengeance for all. Okay. And this, okay, that's New York. All right, that's DC. Okay, which New York and DC aren't too far away from each other. DC is a separate from DC has its own laws and whatnot. It's its own thing pretty much, which is the District of Columbia. Okay, and you see these missiles, the Iranian missile falling. So what I'm getting out of this is, although Esau, the elite, they're behind the scenes talking with all these other nations, especially Iran. They're doing this to bring about, okay, this new digital system. Okay, they got to bring about war and economic failure to crash the currency, to bring in a new system. So they're all in it together, But Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to, make it to where they all start to rival each other over dominance and start shooting missiles at each other. And what I'm seeing is, they're talking about sleeper cells and, preemptive missile attacks on America from Iran. It just might happen, man. It just might happen. This is that predictive programming. Okay, and I know I was talking a lot, so let's just get into these scriptures. Okay, this is Ezekiel 38:5. And it reads Persia, which Persia are those Iranians. Ethiopia, which are East Africans. And Libya, which Libya, who's in Libya right now in Egypt, I said and Egypt, are Ishmaelites. So what these three countries that I just mentioned, or the scripture just mentioned, have in common is they are so-called predominantly Islamic countries. Okay? And if Ethiopia isn't predominantly, which I could just Google it. Okay, so I Googled it, and the majority of them are, Ethiopian Orthodoxy, which are Christians, But the second, okay, is they're Sunni Muslims. All right? Which that's a lot. All right, that's a big, that was 2016. What does it say right here? It doesn't say. Okay, but once again, that's, the second, largest religious percentage in that country. All right. So that being said, a lot of them are connected by being, Muslims. Okay. And what we're seeing right now is, this third war building up, which is starting out as of right now, a war of the Israelis, which have Christian countries, which America was, stated a God-fearing country, right? They have to come in back the play of Israel. These Christian countries, these and who Israel is fighting with right now are Muslims, Muslim countries, Islamic countries. Okay? It says, all of them with shield and helmet, which helmets and shields are defensive equipment in time of war. Okay, time of when you need to be on the defensive. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee, which Togarmah is Turkey, and they are also majorly Muslims. Okay, it says, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So they're all in an alliance with, as it says up here in verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Which Meshech is the Hebrew way of saying Moscow. All right, which is Russia. So Russia is going to be a guard. Okay, that old USSR is coming back right now. You got Belarus and different countries, joining up. I believe they got Crimea. We're going to see what happens with Ukraine if they surrender to Russia or if they keep on going. But that old spirit is coming back. Okay, and they're going to be a guard unto these Muslim countries, Muslim Islamic countries. And Togarmah, Turkey, is going to leave the beast, which is NATO and the EU, okay, to assist Russia and these Islamic countries in attacking Israel and America. Okay? So, from there, I'm going to jump to verse 11, and I'm going to close it. It says, "And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates." That's talking about America, man. Okay, because you people are at rest. You people don't know what the fuck is going on. You people are asleep. Okay, this is a land of unwalled villages. Okay? You people ain't prepared for what's about to come. There is nobody warning you of what's to come other than us. Okay, other than us, men on the highways and byways preaching this word. And really, who we're only warning, because only the elect is going to take heed to what we're saying. All right, you think that this place is going to keep on going. Okay, although you see shit hitting the fan and things getting crazy, you people are bugged out to thinking that this place is going to bounce back. That there's a bouncing of backing for you people, man. Okay, that just someday it's going to get better and things are going to go back to what you call normal. But no, it's not. Now, things are going to get better, but they got to get far worse before they get better. And they're only going to get better for the Israelites. It's only going to get better for the Hebrew Israelites, starting with the elect. Okay, but it's got to get worse before it gets better. All right? It says, "I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely." And you people dwell safely thinking that, oh, America's just this most powerful country. It can never be invaded. Nobody would ever dare attack America. But if you see what's going on, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East, okay, these American allies and American troops are getting dogged out there, man. Okay, American aircraft and Israeli aircraft and fighters are just getting destroyed. All the bases that America got out there are getting bombed and blown to smithereens, getting spied on. Okay, things that you people would never thought would be possible are actually happening. And they're saying that Iran is they're just using basic equipment to do this stuff. It says, "To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited." You see? Desolate places that are now inhabited, meaning eventually these places that are inhabited, these cities, are going to become desolate, man. They're going to become destroyed. When you think of the word desolate, you think of deserted. When you think of deserted, you think of a desert. Okay? You think of nothing, man. All right? Just earth. Just sand. Just fucking rocks everywhere. It says, "And upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land." Right. And trust and believe it's going to be far worse than this video, man. Trust and believe. All right, the destruction of America, which is Babylon the Great, It's going to be far worse. Okay, and if you know history, if you know Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, which I'm going to get, all right, this is Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So if you understand, biblical history and history, okay, because the Bible is history. If you know, okay, which there's a lot of scholars and historians out there that will read the scriptures and see that, the scriptures are full of truth. And they might not necessarily believe or agree with everything in the scriptures, but they will agree that to their knowledge, there is truth in the scriptures. Okay, they'll see the history of the Persians and the Medes, okay, destroying Babylon. All right, and the scripture just said that which shall be is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So modern day Babylon, Babylon the Great, spoken of in Revelation chapter 18, is going to be destroyed again. Okay, or Salakia is going to be destroyed. It's a totally different Babylon. Okay, but just like the ancient Persians and Medes destroyed ancient Babylon, the modern day Persians, which is Iran, they're the same people. It's just the name was changed from Persia to Iran. And the Medes, okay, the Russians, all right, are going to link up again, which they already are allies, and they're going to destroy Babylon the Great, modern day Babylon. There's no new thing under the sun. This is about to happen. So with that, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Harakakwadash. And of course, as always, double honors to our apostles and our elders that rule well at Great Millstone. Double honors to our apostles and elders that rule well at Great Millstone. All right, Salakia. And salutation, shalom, to the hopeful elect. All right, men, women, and children. Shalom.